And now I'd like you to meet somebody from India that I am really honored to be able to introduce you to him. Sharad Dahake is a model maker. He owns his own company in India called Ideal Mockup. And he has also been named the ambassador to India for the Association of Professional Model Makers, which is, in my opinion, a real honor for him. So when I found that out and I communicated with him a few times, I've asked him to be on the show and to talk about how he got to be a model maker, his company, what he does, and so forth. So, Sharad, thank you so much for being here this evening. I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Jim, for giving me an opportunity to represent myself. Regarding my company, I think most of the audience in your show are rail line modelers. Mine is more into product development kind of business where you require similar skill set of model making. We make appearance models for products. It is mostly used for industrial design application. I hope people are aware of industrial design.
Yes, I think we are. Yeah.
Okay. I think in India, we have to explain a lot about what industrial design is. So similarly is with model making also associated with that. My company makes full-scale models of mostly consumer durable products like refrigerator, washing machine, air conditioners, medical equipments. So, we have clients all across India, and also we export to countries like sometimes US, but US, UK, Japan also, Korea also, but very less. I would say it is like just 0.2% of business export, very less. We started this company because I found there were very few model makers in India who were doing model making, but they were not making model as per required quality. And I tried to support some model makers, asking them, why don't you invest in some new technology wherein we can get more quality and also we can do faster work? Because in this area where I work in product development, fast model making is also one of the criteria, along with very realistic appearance of the model. As you work in small scale, we have to work mostly in full scale. So refrigerator has to be in a full scale, actual scale representation of a finished design concept. When I spoke to model makers, they were very hesitant about investing in new technologies like CNC machining or SLA, SLS, or casting. So before model making, I was into industrial design. So I was working with LG as a design head there, which was representing India. So there we used to get all the mockups done from Korea. And I was very much impressed by the model makers who used to make models. They were, I was having a first time interaction with professional model making. In India, we used to have a traditional model making type of concept where most of the time manual skill was used. And it used to take a lot of time also. And the accuracy which was achieved was not very, very precise. What I saw in working with LG or in Korea was Even I designed a television in LG company. I was a television designer, and I had a first project of making TV. And I was highly impressed by the way my design was appearing in mockup. So means it was beyond my visualization. I thought this is all because of model maker that it is looking so beautiful. My design is looking so beautiful. So I thought this is something which is very, very important for industrial design profession in India. And somehow after maturing from industrial design, I thought it would be good to start this company. So I started this company in 2012, and I learned a little bit of model making in my design learning, but when it comes to professional model making, it was like a new person starting from scratch, because we had to learn everything: CNC machining, spray painting, then finishing, screen printing. Everything we had to learn from scratch. Even the software programs we had to learn from scratch. And I think it took almost a year to perfect ourselves. We had to replace models of clients. And that's how we slowly got our name established in professional appearance model making in India. So this is what I can brief about how what my company is and what we do.
Let me ask you this, Sharad. How would you describe the model making industry in India? Are there a lot of people interested in it? Is it something that is a brand new industry for the country?
It is not a brand new industry, but somehow I feel it got diminished. Earlier, I remember in my career, I saw model makers. I was working in one company which was called Electrolux. It was a European company which had a subsidiary in India. There I saw model makers, but in India, there's no professional training of model making. There are no schools of model makers. So the craftsmen who were like carpenters, or who were into hobby, or who were who had certain skill sets, they used to join a company and make models. I remember there were few companies who used to make models in India, but what happened was in between. I am talking about personally in our field of design. Many model makers they left model making. They left model making maybe because of the pressure of the need of making high quality mockups in less time. So also there was a need of high investment because you have to use CNC machines and new production technologies. So somewhere or the other, they were not able to catch up. That's what I feel. And that's how the model making got diminished. So particularly, I would say there are some model making companies in India, but they are mostly into SLA, SLS, engineering, prototyping kind of support. And in appearance model making, you require people to have high skill of finishing and detailing, just like railroad model making business, where manual work is more. So that kind of industry somehow got diminished. Means people didn't come forward, or model makers, they just left their businesses, or they didn't aspire to grow that to a highly professional, demanding profession.
I've also found it difficult to find even hobbyists, model railroaders, for example, in India. Number one, because of the very high price of the import duties and so forth. It almost keeps people out of the hobby making business, and therefore, and from the hobby standpoint, the skills that they might have needed to become professional model makers, they just don't have because they can't afford the cost to even get involved in a hobby.
Actually, one thing is the cost which is involved, as you said, in making models, also the labor and time which goes into that. And eventually the model becomes quite expensive. So in India, you don't find regular customers who really want to spend so much money on model making. So I think nowadays there would be very few model makers who would be catering to very niche segment. Means the buyers are very less. I would say not just buyer, but the people who want to appreciate the business. Okay, because there's very less, means there are no people who are collectors kind of in India. So it becomes means even if a person has a hobby to make it, it just remain as a hobby. It doesn't become like a profession, like a earning profession, bread and butter kind of thing.
Yeah. So where do you see the business going in the future? What are your plans for the future?
Future, it is mostly expansion plans. Currently, my workshop is very small and we are like fully congested. I have around 20 members working with me. And work is increasing because I think, as I said, very few people are coming in this profession in India. And eventually we don't do any sales or marketing. It is more word of mouth. We thought that it is good to invest everything in making the mock-ups really good. So those are really helping word of mouth publicity with clients. And as far as expansion is concerned, I have a dream of investing into various technologies. Currently, I don't have SLA, SLS. So that area is where I want to invest myself. And then because I'm not able to find the land, proper land, I want a government land which is cheaper, because if I try to buy it from a private person, it will be very expensive. So through government I'm trying, and there are things happening there, but government things, they move very slowly. There is a scheme which is coming, which I'm looking forward. It is not yet finalized. It would take a year, I think. So apart from that, means even it comes as a role, as my role as an ambassador. I wanted to make this profession more popular. So my plan is, once I'm established, because I don't have any sales and marketing team. So just recently I got a sales person who can do also project management and help me in that. Once I'm free with that, then I plan to start with some kind of competition, model making competition, where people can participate, and I come to know about hobbyists, especially young people who are interested, and encourage them, appreciate them through their skills, by recognizing their skills. So that is one of my idea, which was long back, but maybe because of unsettling business, I kept it at a back burner. But I think maybe as an ambassador, that role will also help me to identify a lot of people. And yes, it will help in making people take more interest in the skills of model makers.
Well, I really admire what you're going to do for the hobbyist. I personally believe that model railroaders have an awful lot of skills that they learn along the way that can be transferred to a future career in being a professional model maker. And I encourage you to go down that road, because I think that may be a source potentially of a great labor force for you.
So these are our clients: LG, Samsung, IFB, and these are kind of work we do. Can you see some images? There's an air conditioner,
Yes.
a microwave, then air fryer. These are all consumer durable. These are still old images, because we with clients we have non-disclosure agreements. So the designs which get older, maybe 2 to 3 years, when they come to market, then we share in portfolio. You can see some commodes, which are wash basins, which are made for Kohler industry. Then you can see a lot of remote controls, small electronic gadgets. When we are making models, sometimes client require kind of electronic simulations, actual functionality display. So it is kind of dummy, but you can show how the things are taken out, or how things usability, how a mockup will be used, a product will be used. Like in the extreme left image, you can see a heater sort of element, which is not an actual heater, but there is a combination of lighting which is simulating that a heating is happening inside. Then we also do some architectural work, not very, but this kind of architectural work, what we did was they require to be made it from plastic. So they came to us, and then we made a mall, a miniature shopping mall, which was exported to South Africa to one of the customer. This is like interior of hospital, which was used for marketing purpose. It was scaled down. The height of this model would be approximately 30 centimeter. So it used to be carried by the salesperson to the market to exhibit what they have to offer in hospital management, the equipments all. Then these are scaled down models, which solar boiler. This was meant for exhibition in Germany. And there are some other models which are like machines, scaled down machines, which were used for display by LG company. So there are many other products which we make, like refrigerator and washing machines.
Well, Sharad, you've got a significant list of companies that you're working for, and some beautiful products that you're making. So it's no wonder your company is growing and being successful, as I know it is.
Yeah. This year, even though there was a COVID, we had crossed our earlier high sales target. So our financial year actually starts from April and ends in March. So we are still 2 months. We still have 2 months. So I think, and we have a lot of orders also to execute. So this year, definitely, we had grown a lot, even when the COVID is there.
you see the foreign market increasing for you, the export market?
Currently, I have not shown much interest in foreign market because my intent was, initial intent was to help my own country to fulfill this requirement. So I had very few foreign assignments, very few. Whenever there's a requirement, I do that. I don't avoid that, but I didn't push myself for export market.
I got you. Okay. Anybody else have any more questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Have you ever thought about making brass locomotive models? I would sure like to see a country like India make models so I don't have to buy from China.
I made a locomotive model, scaled down locomotive model. It was electronic vehicle three-wheeler model, which was promoting their three-wheelers. So they were very small, this much small scale models. That was my first assignment. There was another assignment was for making scooters, electronic vehicle scooters, which didn't move ahead because the technology which I use for making scale down models is CNC machining, not because they require in volume. Whenever they require a scale model, first they will ask us to develop a scale down model and then make replica of that, 20, 30 or 50 kind of. So even if I make one scaled model for locomotive, it will be very expensive. If I make 30, they will also be expensive. So because every model I have to do machining and repeat same process of finishing manually everything. So it doesn't become a valuable proposition for client. So it become what I can say, I make locomotive models. It means I had an experience making locomotive models, but there are very few customers for that.
So really what you're not seeing is you're not seeing the importers to the US coming and saying, we want you to make this as a production product there. But what you're making for the model is you're making a one-off model of something that,
Yes.
that a manufacturer wants to experiment with.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sharad, Larry McDonald here, Toronto.
Hi.
Are you hands-on in some of the model making itself, or do you work in a management position?
Currently, I work on a management position because I have to manage client briefing and then do quotations and then try to work out a deal with them, negotiate. And after that is done, I need to brief my team what needs to be made. And then accordingly, I have a supervisor who takes the briefing and then we distribute the work. It goes to CAD modeling, then goes to CNC machine. So that process happens. As far as my personal thing is concerned, I do have a hands-on experience myself because that's how I started. Because initially I learned machining. I didn't learn machining, but I helped machining. I was doing most of the CAD modeling myself in the starting of business. And then the gluing and finishing and painting, screen painting, that all I have to do because I didn't get people, professional model makers to support. So so that's how I was doing myself, a lot of model making initially. But now I trained people, whoever I take as a model maker, those are not trained model maker. So I need to give them time, 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, train them in paper model making and other plastic model making, basic geometries, teach them CAD, give them some briefing or training about painting process and screen printing process, finishing process, and then get people on the task. So I would say currently my role is more management looking, but overall I have to, even if I try to avoid personally getting involved into model making, but somehow because of the client requirement or pressure of work, I need to speed up things and have to put myself into project. Oh, we have to do like this, we have to do like that. Let's do this. So that kind of involvement is there right now.
So I'm very impressed with your products, and I was thinking of just all the geometry, particularly in the commode area. Just it struck me that that would be very difficult. But you say you're working in CAD. But
Yeah.
Now, when you build
No,
these
no.
models, is that just
No.
sorry?
The designs are given by the company.
Oh, okay.
We don't design, we only fabricate.
So they provide you with the software or a
Yeah,
product, and then you,
yes, they provide with us with CAD data.
okay, I was thinking the other way around, and then going maybe to drawings for when we go down to the production floor, so they could do the different components and that. Okay.
It would be a design work. So they have a design team which gives us data. What we do apart from their data is we make fabrication detailing of model, how to fabricate.
Let's see. This is very interesting. You can see this is outside of our norm, just building train models, and that just as a a train enthusiast. So this is very interesting. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Sharad, as I understand it, the real problem when you started your company was people, the Indian companies could design the product, no one could build the model from their design.
Right, including me.
And so what you did is you started your company basically to fill that gap, so that once the designer had designed a product, then you stepped in and actually produced that product, one-off product, for that company. And then they can see if that's what they want to manufacture, and if they want to move forward, or whether they want to tweak it in some direction and so forth. That skill of production of the one-off product is what was missing in the industry in India.
Yes, you got it right, Jim.
Okay. And because of that, then the manufacturers in India were having to shop that out internationally to get the model of whatever they thought they wanted to build.
Yes, right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Are there other questions?
Yes, on the scale models, I think I heard that they're made out of plastic. Of course, in the US, we have a number of manufacturers who make all kinds of scale or small plastic sheet and strip and other various shapes. What are you using as sources for the plastic? And are you fabricating everything just from sheets, or is there greater variety available?
Yeah. There are sheets which are 50 mm thicknesses, or 60 mm, 70 mm, 80 mm thicknesses. So our basic, whenever we get geometry from the customer, we slice it to the required thicknesses, maybe 50 mm, 40 mm, 30 mm, depending on the details in the design. And then those sliced parts, we separately machine. And then we glue them together. So the raw material which we use is acrylic blocks or thick sheets, and ABS. ABS also you might have heard, acryobutadiene. It is a very good material for fabrication. So that we use. And raw material ABS is mostly imported from China, because we don't get any local manufacturer of that. we get ABS sheets of very thin thicknesses, maximum 5 mm. But if we have to go for more thickness, then we had to import. So that's our basic plastic. And sometimes what happens is there are engineering requirement wherein engineer or design engineer, they want specific material like nylon or polypropylene or HDPE. So based on, I normally avoid that kind of specific requirements, but sometimes considering that client desperately needs some kind of support there, then I help them out.
That's impressive. We're spoiled in the ability to just go on the internet and order scale strips and sheets, the dimensions we need, and can cut those up and make our models. You have to actually make your parts first.
Yeah. Right.
And can you imagine being a model railroader there and trying to, since you don't have it locally, you're having to import everything that you build with, all of the material, everything has to be imported. And there are significant duties connected with that. So whatever you're paying here in the US, you can probably double or triple it for the same amount of product in India. So talk about the cost of being a modeler. In the US, it's nothing compared to the cost there. And yet at the same time I say that, there are some very, very talented modelers, model railroaders in India that I've met. And most of them are not building kits, they're building it from scratch. Right. That's basically the hobby in India, as I understand it, at least.
Actually, in India, the model making, one big problem is resources.
Yeah.
So you don't find, if you have to have a particular kind of plastic or particular kind of material or paints or inks or whatever kind of, if you need to have a lot of variety options, you find it very difficult to get in India.
Are you having the supply chain problem in India? Are you having a problem getting containers, that kind of thing?
As far as ABS is concerned, ABS is our major raw material, I would say. And initially we had a problem, but now we had established a kind of supplier in China who, if we just mail them, they send us material and we pay and they send the material. It takes around, I think earlier it used to take 1 month before COVID. Now it takes almost 2 months for the material to come. But I keep a sufficient buffer stock with me, so that once the material once we see that our stock is getting depleted, we order the material in advance.
Yeah.
So that we don't lose on time.
Yeah. Anyone else questions?
I have one question. You were talking about getting into 3D printers. Have you considered like buying like the really small ones and all that, just to sort of practice on parts before you get a more of a production ready machine?
As far as my exploration is concerned with 3D printing, I had brought one small 3D printer, and it was India-made 3D printer, not very expensive, I would say. And the purpose of buying that was only to see how 3D printing can help me out in the business. What happened was the clients, when I gave some parts to customers, they somehow felt that the machined part was better than 3D printing part. So whenever it all depends on the customer. If they feel that they want to have a 3D printed part only, they would ask for 3D printing. But there are a lot of options in India as far as 3D printing is concerned. Means for engineering people, they can get it done through other people. But when the design engineer, they want my component or part should not be 3D printed. It should be machine only, because they have to do because they require certain kind of finish or transparency, or I would say the strength or reliability aspect. They would go for this CNC machine only. And as far as our area is concerned of appearance mock-up making, working on a 3D printed part is very, very difficult, because you have to add a lot of putty on the material. But in CNC, it is more clean process. You just have to remove tool marks and you get a perfect dimension surface. So you don't have to do much of putty work on CNC machine part. Because in appearance mock-up, surface finish is very important. And those surfaces are not, I would say, unorganized kind of surfaces. They are highly accurate surfaces. Dimensionally, all the surfaces have to be reproduced as per CAD data. And we have very less margin. We have to work in microns, like you work in small scale models, fine details. So for us, surface detail at that microscopic level is very important. So that's why 3D printing doesn't help us in appearance model making. It can help in engineering, checking dimensions or concepts, dimensional concepts, fitments and all. But when it comes to reliable part, the client would ask for CNC machine parts. So I had explored that I had a filament driven 3D printer. So it was very less used in my company. But whenever I used to do 3D printing, I found we have to do certain kind of servicing there. Either the material was material would have expired of not using regularly, or there would be some power issues or with 3D printing. So we trained ourselves with 3D printer. We have confidence we can do 3D printing, but I think as far as skill is concerned, it doesn't require a skill set when as compared to appearance model making. So I feel I should not invest in SLA or SLS, because customer himself, they invest.
Gotcha. Understood.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Jim, just to prove your point on the expense, I just did a little internet browsing and found a hobby or a store that sells model trains in Bangalore, India, and did a price comparison just to pick something that might be familiar to a lot of people. The Bachmann Spectrum 280 locomotive that we could buy right now on eBay for $160 or $170 is quoted by this shop as $420 after doing a conversion from Indian rupees to US dollars.
So how many of those do you think people are going to be buying?
Well, they seem to have a business selling model railroad equipment. It was the only one. I Googled model railroading in India, got one hit, this shop in Bangalore. They seem to have a nice selection, but yeah, it's a pricey hobby in India, isn't it?
It really is, and which explains why there's not more model railroads.
I think we should also check whether they are made in India.
Yeah. And there's one manufacturer that I know that I've written about in the past that does make model railroads, Indian based engines and cars for the Indian Railroad in India. And that's what he specializes in, and his company makes them. Sharad, I can't thank you enough for being here this night. I think this has been very interesting, and for me, it's important that we try to introduce the modeler to what's happening around the world. We get so ingrained sometimes about this is model railroading in the US. We have no idea what people are doing model railroading or model making or anything else around the world. So thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing with us your experience and information about your company. I wish you the best of success, and thank you so very much.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you all members, railroad members, model
Yeah.
makers. Thank you very much.